Shadow Home Secretary James Cleverly is with us this morning. It's good to see you.
Hi, good to see you, Kay.
How did you get here?
Well, as you know, I got stuck in traffic, so I had to jump on a line bike. Other bicycle hire firms are available, but yeah, I did the last bit of the trip on a bicycle.
And how was that? Did you have a helmet on? Just say yes.
I was always careful.
Very good. I'm glad to hear it. Didn't get any more supporters yesterday in the leadership campaign. Why not?
Well, I think the message that I was getting is people were confident I'd get through to the final four. A lot of my supporters wanted to make sure I got through to the final four. We've achieved that. I'm very pleased with that. And I now intend to take the message that I've been promoting around the country and to my fellow MPs to party conference, then get to the final two and ultimately win this competition to lead the party. 10
minutes, is that enough on stage at party conference?
Well, look, I'm quite confident about being grilled for an extended period of time. We've done that at hustings around the country. I think that the more time we've got to explain ourselves to the members of the party, the better. There'll be more than one opportunity, but I think our members have said to us that they want to have a meaningful choice in the leadership of the party, and I think the more exposure we have to them, the better. Now, the decision is not ultimately for me, but we will continue to negotiate with the party board and the 1922 committee about the rules for conference.
So you want more than 10 minutes?
I'd love more than 10 minutes. I'd be happy with that, yeah.
OK. You had been predicted to lead going into yesterday's vote. What happened?
No, well, certainly not by me. So, look, I think there's always a lot of expectation management. As I say, the conversations that I had with my supporters was always focused on getting to the final four. I've been party chairman, I've been deputy party chairman. Party conference is an environment I'm very comfortable with, very familiar with. So our plan was just to make sure we got through to the section of the leadership campaign that goes to conference. We've done that. I'm very happy with that because I know that's very much home turf for me.
Who are you more worried about taking on, Jenry, Corbyn, not?
Well, look, they're all good candidates. They're all personal friends. They're all good candidates. This isn't about beating one of the other candidates.
Well, it is.
Actually, it's a subtle but significant difference. I entered this race to put myself forward, to put my best foot forward, to put my ideas to the members of the party. For me, it is about winning their endorsement rather than beating other candidates. And that difference in attitude is how we make sure we run a clean campaign, a positive campaign, an optimistic campaign, because that's how I want to run the party. And so I'm conducting myself in this leadership campaign as I would do as leader of the party, which is thoroughly optimistic, thoroughly positive, putting our best foot forward.
Two very different campaigns, though, aren't there? It's one with MPs, and then if you're lucky enough to get through to the final two, a very different campaign with the party faithful.
Yeah, it is. And as leader of the party, you need to do both. You need to be able to command the respect of your parliamentary colleagues. And I've held two of the great offices of state, and I've discharged both those jobs, according to others at least, very well. But it's also about being the leader of the party across the whole of the country, the people that knock on doors, the people who stand for local council, the people who stand for election in City Hall in London and in Holyrood and in Cardiff Bay and in our city mayoralties around the country. It is the leader for all those things, not just the parliamentary party.
You're going to bring Boris Johnson out?
Well, I've always said I want to make sure we have all the top team playing. Now, I've had no indication whatsoever that Boris wants to come back to frontline politics. I know there's always talk about that, but I'm focused on the team that we've got in Parliament.
But an endorsement from him is what I meant.
Sorry,
an endorsement from him.
Well, it's always good to have an endorsement for as many people as possible. I'm not sure any of the former Prime Ministers are in the mood to give particular endorsements. I've worked with them all. I maintain good relations with them all. But ultimately, it's about looking forward to the next generation of parliamentarians, the next generation of candidates around the country. That's what I'm focused on, and that's what the campaign's about.
With your former Foreign Secretary hat on, we know that the present Foreign Secretary and Antony Blinken have gone to Ukraine today after reports that Iran has provided Russia with ballistic missiles. What impact on the war will that have?
Well, I'm very glad that the new Labour government is maintaining our posture of being very, very close to the American administration and very, very clear in our support for Ukraine. I had always warned about Iran's engagement with Ukraine. I brought this up directly with the Iranian foreign minister at the time. I'm very, very pleased that Labour seemed to be just as focused. I know that when they first came into office, there was some talk that they were going to ease back on their support for Ukraine. I hope those reports were wrong. I hope this sends a positive message that the UK and the US will continue in our completely unambiguous support for Ukraine in its self-defence.
What did you make of the US debate last night?
Well, look, I watched some of it. I didn't watch all of it. I picked up some of the highlights. Look, I think debate is important, and I think it's good. It's often the case that the people who are expected to be the front runners aren't necessarily always the front runners, and politicians need to be tested. And so between now and November, I'm sure that Vice President Harris and former President Trump will have plenty of other opportunities to compete with each other publicly. The decision for who runs America is exclusively for the American people.
Of course.
And the British government, of course, will work with whoever they choose as president.
Yes, they will, but one worries about the situation in Ukraine, does one not, if President Trump was once again to find himself in office?
Well, when I was Foreign Secretary, I worked very closely with both Grant Shapps and Ben Wallace when they were Defence Secretaries and, of course, the Prime Minister, making sure that we didn't just support Ukraine directly, but we also advocated on the international stage for further support to Ukraine. And that will be true with the American administration just as it was with European countries, and that will be true irrespective of who is in the White House. We know that
but
Ukraine needs...
he won't condemn President Putin, though, will he?
Well, the UK's job...
We do.
Well, the UK's job, the Foreign Secretary's job, is to advocate for what we believe in, with friends and allies and on the international stage. And I would expect that to be true whoever is in the White House, just as it has been up until now. And certainly that's what I did when I was Foreign Secretary.
And a final thought on the images in the newspapers this morning of people being allowed out of prison early with bubbles and celebrations. You have to accept some responsibility for prison overcrowding, your government.
Well, one of the reasons why prisons were overcrowded is because we made the decision during COVID not to just let people out, as was the case in many other countries around the world. They let people out. We decided that we would continue with jury trials. That meant that there was pressure on the prison system. But the way Labour have gone about this is completely wrong.
You did the same thing.
No, they got the prioritisation completely wrong. We have domestic abusers, we have sex offenders, we have criminals that have many repeat
Labour says that's
convictions.
not true.
Well, they would say that, wouldn't they? The point is, we've seen the images of people saying thank you to the Labour government, just as we saw images of illegal migrants in France waiting for a Labour government before they came across on small boats. Labour have got all their priorities
came across
wrong.
When it was a Conservative
They're
government.
taking money off of pensioners to give to train drivers. They're releasing domestic abusers early. They're removing border controls. They are making all the wrong decisions. This has been a catastrophic start. And the vote last night, and the vote last night on the on stripping 10 million pensioners their winter fuel allowance, I think was the icing on the cake.
Yeah, why didn't you build more prisons?
We were building prisons. We had a prison building programme. As I say, the reason there was congestion in our prison system is because, unlike many other countries during COVID who decided to prioritise the safety of prisoners and deprioritise the safety of the general population, we decided not to do that. So we kept people in prison. We also kept jury trials, and the combination of those two things meant there was pressure. We knew there was, and we were dealing with it. But this, basically, mass amnesty is completely the wrong answer.
I've got to let you go. Have you got the taste for cycling now? You're going to get yourself a peloton.
Oh, I've always loved cycling. I've always loved cycling. Before I was protected, driven around in an armoured car, I used to cycle into work all the time, and I'm very much looking forward to getting back into that.
OK, it's good to see you. Good luck. Thank you.
Cheers, Kate.